I'll stop that damn fan.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's got you beat, Scott.
Yeah.
Stop recording. Okay. We're live. So let me start this. Welcome to the Think Tank. Each day we share the news in open dialogue and discuss how it might affect the business world. We speak with different leaders on crisis navigation and management, as well as experts in professional and personal self-betterment. It's meant to be a break in learning and sharing of good news and ideas to start people moving forward. It's called the Think Tank. So today we've put a reporter, Robbie Sawyer, right in the middle of the madness at DFW Airport. Reporting live from DFW is Robbie Sawyer from Thinkers Society, where it looks pretty quiet. Kimball is working on a windmill farm currently. He is a creative producer and content director, making executives and personalities look great on stage and in video. Doug Carroll, a senior advisor to senior boards and executives, helping them in their time of crisis and challenge put together a coherent plan to navigate through there. And T. Scott Anderson, a little in the dark today, getting done by Kimball and his fan, is a producer and live show shooter and flyer of cameras and documentary shooting. Thank you for joining, everyone. This is the Think Tank. I think this is episode like 24.
No, you got
you're
a
waiting.
34.
34. Sorry, 34.
Yeah.
So news. Let's hear from Robbie. What's it look like, Robbie?
Well, it's definitely one of the slowest Friday afternoons ever. I am in Terminal B, so that says a lot. But Terminal B at DFW Airport. I was telling Doug.
Ticket counter, plexiglass up, or how did that work? What did that look like?
Well, no, good question. Not at the ticket counter, but they definitely had it at when you were going through security.
Okay.
But it was interesting. Even the TSA guys, most of them did not have masks on.
No.
Yeah.
Probably couldn't get them.
Just the gloves.
Yeah, they all had gloves on. But as I was telling Doug, 50% of the people, it seems like, have masks, but only 50% of those people are actually wearing the mask.
So they got them around their neck or something?
Yeah, around their neck or hanging on their ear, or, I'd showed before you jumped on, there was a pilot, American pilot walked by with no mask on. So, I mean, I guess it depends on your comfort level, right?
And so really light in there, no one's in the stores, or like one person at a counter or something?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, here's the store. It's temporarily closed.
Oh.
And then I'm standing in front of the Caribou Coffee, if you know that one. I'm at Terminal B, Gate 29. But the bars are closed, restaurants are closed. There's a few bars. Kent Rathburn's place is open. The bar, it's amazing how quickly they've been able to relax you can't take open containers and you can't take alcohol with you. And so they're literally selling the bar now, instead of big bottles of liquor. They've got just, groups of, you want vodka, rum, you want ever, and you can buy up to 5 of them.
Oh.
And they'll give
But you
little,
can't sit in the restaurant. You can. It's takeout there, even in the airport.
Yeah, and there's no chairs. They have a few tables. There's no chairs for people just to stand around them. But what was funny is I said, so, how does this work? And he's like, well, you can buy 1 bottle or you can buy 5 bottles, but you got to buy it with food. So they're selling. So this is what they're selling. This is what they're selling is food. For $1, you can purchase this. So,
But you would think that would be to keep their percentages right for their license, but that's not going to do it.
I don't know. I know. Who knows? So definitely weird, but well, it'll be interesting when I get on the airplane. So it's all good. Christy and Luke made it, no problem.
So all the coffee shops are closed?
Scott, I only passed. Starbucks was open for sure, and that there were definitely most places are closed for sure.
Oh, look at
that
Alberto.
right there. Is that Alberto?
Yes, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
How's it going, guys?
Live from the
Glasses.
tank.
I'm not used
How
to
we
seeing
playing?
him without glasses.
How we playing,
How you hitting
Alberto?
I mean, if it's golf,
You play?
all
You
right.
playing Army golf out there or what?
I'm on the green on one. See?
Where are you
No
at
big
there?
deal.
TPC? Where are you at?
Sand is not green.
I know there's the sand.
Oh, okay.
I'm right there.
Oh.
What course are you at?
I don't know, somewhere in Plano, some country club. A buddy of mine got me on.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyways,
Glen-
everything good?
Glen Eagles. Looks like
Where's-
Glen
Yeah, it
Eagles.
looks like
Where's
you
your
playing
mask,
Glen Eagles.
Alberto? Where's your
What's
mask?
that?
Where's your mask?
Where's your-
I'm like Trump.
Anyone out there wearing them?
No, if he
Nah,
wore his
hell no.
mask into the pro shop, they think he was holding them up. So he can't do that.
I'm lucky I'm here. Watch me put this.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, this is some high quality. Well, you're gonna put it in the.
Well, the
Wow.
weather today brought to you by
Yeah,
Alberto
Alberto.
Elizondo.
Well, this
looks
is
to
going to be.
Did you
partly
put your
cloudy.
phone in the bottom of the cup?
We've got a wind out of the west at about
Wait
13
for it,
miles
the
an
ball-
hour that will affect
the ball's
the
gonna
putt
land on-
probably 2 feet.
I was going to
Oh, that's-
roll right in on top of that phone.
It's a good thing he's not a photographer.
Yeah, you think he'd have some idea of framing, wouldn't you? Hey, speaking of that, I actually have a production question.
All
Okay.
right, speaking of
Yeah.
that,
So literally in the last 2 days since we talked yesterday, I've had 2 different groups come in and ask me, okay, one of them's a real live theater, an adult theater, and the other one is a group that's thinking about doing a product launch. And they're trying to figure out how to do virtual engagement and production. And they don't know how to say, okay, if I want to shift my thinking from, having an event that was, for a product launch that would be in an auditorium and a bunch of people and everything else. If I want to do a walk through a celebrity's house and then switch over to another celebrity or do some other things like that and cut things in and out, that was one scenario they were talking about. They had no idea where to go or what to do, how to produce that virtual. And then the second one was, this, a real, like I say, regular adult theater was saying, we've got shows we've got to think about completely rethinking how to do. We have a show that's coming up that we want to do, and we don't know how to create a virtual production around a musical. And so it's one of those things I just thought I would toss out. And if you guys had any brilliant thoughts or, things that might help these guys steer them, by the way, let me be clear, steer them toward you guys, it'd be cool to say, here's some ideas around what that might look like in the new normal to have an event and to be able to provide them with understanding on how to produce that event. Did that make sense?
Yeah, Sammy, let's kick it off.
Thanks, Campbell. So the first thing you have to ask is this a participatory, is that the right word? Participatory event
Participatory.
where we want the audience to engage and be a part of it like we are here? Or is it more of a one-way, which is general commenting where people are viewing, which I think is your answer, first of all. So i.e.
Correct.
I'm watching
In both cases.
Voice, I'm watching The Voice or America's Got Talent, whatever online. So with that, yes. And the other interesting note there too is your subject matter, your host, your guest would all be in physical place, as opposed to, or one's at home in Arizona and one's in New York. That's your next question you got to ask. Is that what it is? Okay.
And the answer in one of them is in one place. In the other one, it could be in multiple places around the globe.
Okay.
And one thing I'll just throw in, Sammy, is it all live or is any of this pre-recorded for rolling?
One yes, one both.
Okay.
Okay.
One
so
yes,
it's a
one yes,
combination.
live only.
So here you go. For your yes, the answer is yes, we have a solution for that. And the salute for both of those, and those are both different.
Right.
So in the end, your audience is just watching and maybe commenting or what have you. They're not videoing in. So for your product launch where you have multiple presenters in different areas, we would have them remote in, where we are doing just like if it were in a ballroom. Instead of having camera feeds, we have remote feeds in.
Right.
Okay, where we do our mixing, where Kimball throws in, here's the PowerPoint they wanted to add, or here is the video they want to roll in, or here's the general graphic. And then we push that signal out to a YouTube, to a Facebook,
To all the different platforms.
and
Yeah.
or just to a website that's displaying that, right? So
Right.
they're watching a produced feed. We're just pulling virtual sources in to make that feed. That's one. Now, for your theater, you could easily still have multi-camera setup, which is still doing a switch, and Kimball's doing show production on. And again, we're pushing out to whatever channel that be. Maybe it's private hosting on a private website, or it's inside YouTube or Facebook or whatever. What I would suggest is that it does go into a social channel. It goes into a Thinkers channel on YouTube, or the theater's channel on YouTube. So you have a continued audience and a continued destination, because that's your new storefront for your theater.
Yeah.
That's your new ticket
Yeah.
counter for
Yeah.
your theater. And
They're
I would
also
look at
talking about.
for
Oh, go ahead.
them in particular, I've seen a couple musicians now doing this, or I forgot what it's called. I could look that up. He's still doing really nice production, but he's pushing it through this place that allows you to pay
Yeah.
to watch it or be a part of it.
Well, so that's part two of the theaters, because what they're also looking at doing is to do something, you know, they're part of the Dallas Fort Worth community, and they want to do something that is like a, you know, an inspirational local thing. You know, you've got all the things going on, but I haven't seen a whole lot that's been local to Dallas. And so they've got lots of connections with lots of big folks. And they were saying, you know, we were thinking about, separate from the show, but seeing if they could create some sort of a COVID rally for, you know, around here. And, you know, and I said, okay, I don't have any of the expertise in this, but I think I know people who absolutely do. And I can, you know, I will vet it with them and say, now we can bring them in. So.
Yeah. So to the point of, well, can't we just use Zoom and do that? Yeah, but can't you just rent out a ballroom and just walk in the room and start talking?
Right. Oh, no, but believe me, they were already down the road of saying, I need professional production people.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you need someone who's worried about the timing and worrying about all the different media elements that have to be in, and making sure that's the bigger piece too, is that education for your presenters who now are remote in their living room or what have you. It's like, I've been watching that, The Voice and America's Got Talent and all that. And yes, they are doing it at home. And yes, they might be. I'm still not convinced that they are producing that through an iPhone or what have you. But there's serious thought and consideration to their background and how they're looking and coming off as professional.
But what's interesting, what you say though, is I was channel surfing, because I don't watch American Idol anymore, but I was channel surfing and they were doing something with Disney, and I hit it, so it caught my attention. I'm a Disney freak. And one of them was done, like you say, it had high production value. I mean, really high production value. And then the next poor schmuck that came on, his audio was awful. There was nothing in the background. He was toast, you know, before
So
he ever
that's the
started.
thing, is that you can't have distractions of bad technical execution.
Right.
That's the whole key. It needs to be flawless. And then if it is, then it doesn't matter what medium you're doing it in. But
Well,
that's how you get your message across.
And we've been thinking about this for my daughter's studios, you know, because they're doing Frozen here in June, you know, with the kids studio, and we don't know how we're gonna if we're gonna do it. But one of the things we've talked about is, say, cutting the cast way down, having just principal parts, and they never leave their house. right?
Interesting.
And so that's where, you know, we need to, you know, we can't afford you guys, but we've been talking about trying to be able to say, okay, I've got to have somebody like Kimball who's trying to set up each one and give them, you know, the look and feel of success. But then I've got to be able to do live switching from park to park to make it feel like it's a show.
So the other note to that is they might be back to normal, but if not, watch Saturday Night Live tomorrow night, or go back and look at last week's, because they're having all the actors.
Yeah,
over
my
there
daughter had dinner with Don King 2 months ago.
Wow.
Okay, and one of my daughter's probably best friend is about to go to New York and be Don King's #1 assistant. Don King's been his mentor for about 10 years. And he, like I said, they flew to New York just before this hit, and she spent the evening with Don and
So watch that then, and you can get an idea. Now, I will tell you, if you can, the more you can pre-record that.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Because about half of the SNL stuff is pre-dubbed.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, the thing, I didn't mean to derail this whole thing into that. It's just one of the things that this is interesting is on both sides, on a very business and commercial side, as well as on the artistic side, you know, we've been talking about creativity and how to think about these things differently. And this is a situation where you guys are at the, you know, literally your expertise is at the epicenter of being able to come in and say, you've got to think about your event in a small E, or no matter what it is, in different ways, and how to make that effective in a different way. And it's just been interesting that it's come through in the last couple of days of a couple of pretty darn good sized production opportunities. And one of them is not in Dallas, and it's in a place where you'd think that there would be people out there figuring this out right and left, and they're not, apparently. So
that's interesting. Yeah. Wow.
What do you think, Scott?
Well, I don't know the technical side of pulling multiple locations into one production. Yeah, I do know that I think Alfred Media here in Dallas is already advertising about doing kind of something like that.
Yeah.
They're jumping out ahead of that. But, you know, as far as the camera part of it goes, you know, if you're not going to have something that's on a stage and needing professional camera work, I don't really know. I'm not versed enough to know where that's going to go.
On that note, Doug, I don't know anyone's timeline on that, but they need to get on it quickly to get gear in place, because all that gear that's needed was sold out like week 2 of lockdown.
Yeah. Well, I started telling them, you know, and I said, well, number one, there's time. We're not looking at, we've got months before things happen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we're not, this isn't one of those, they called and said, guess what? Next Thursday, we're doing this. This is one of those that where if we have the ability, we could actually be able to come in and give them guidance, you know, around how to do it right. So, you know, budgets notwithstanding and everything else, it's not an emergency, but they both called and were smart enough to say, what we know is we don't know how to do this anymore, you know, and we're going to need help, you know, and one of these is in Hollywood.
Hollywood.
So anyway.
Cool. Well, that's very cool. Certainly a discussion could take place if it gets to that point.
I will start having the discussion probably, I hope, next week with one of them. With the other one, we'll start working on it, give or take 60 days from now.
Yeah.
Would be my guess. I've got to get a product before I can do a launch.
Yeah. Did Robbie leave?
Right now my factory is closed.
Yeah, Robbie left a while ago.
Okay.
Any other Any other interesting news to share? I heard some stuff this morning on the radio I was going to share. I got to remember what that is if anyone else wants to join in the meantime.
Yeah, as far as Robbie's situation goes, I was listening to the radio. I was out running an errand earlier today, and on the radio they were talking about how one of the guys had just been on a flight, and everybody, you had to have a mask to get on the flight. But then about 20 minutes into the flight, when they're starting to bring around drinks and snacks, they're still doing that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought they'd shut that down.
No, on this flight, he didn't say the airline, but he did say on his flight they brought around snacks and drinks. Everybody took their masks off for like half an hour.
That's funny.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen it, I know Sam has. There's a little video on CNN yesterday about the spread of the virus in a restaurant they did a black light test.
Yeah, that was cool.
In Japan. It's worth going and looking at that.
Really?
Oh, it's.
Yeah, they just put a little like Dayglow juice in one guy's hands. It just looked like regular liquid. And then everyone went about their business, and he went through a buffet, and there were a couple tables in the room. And then after about 30 minutes, they turned the lights off and turned on the black lights. And man, everyone had the stuff on them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Every table setting, every person, everything. Yeah, it just spread that fast. So that was crazy.
Okay.
All right. Any other news to share, or is this a short one?
Yeah, I've got
for
an
today?
idea. A friend of mine has a company out in Florida. It's based on improv philosophy. In fact, the company's called Yes And he's been contracted with USA Soccer. He's done work with the IMG Academy. Has a lot of corporate clients, as well as does. He and a buddy do shows at a theater on the west coast or on the east coast of Florida. And I was just wondering if kind of the improv approach to how to be innovative with other businesses, if that would be interesting to anybody, I could hit him up to see if he'd be interested in spending a half an hour with us.
Sure.
Yes.
That'd be good fun.
That'd be good.
Scott, it's funny, one of the guys or teams that joins us with thinkers in one of the workshops is Yes And
Really?
improv comedians look at design thinking and how to employ that in your
really?
everyday. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
because design thinking is those three elements. It's experiment, iterate, and empathy, right?
Yeah.
And that's what an improv comedian does.
Mhm.
So it's an interesting workshop he does where he shares, this is how this works, and that's how that goes through.
On the plane.
Uh-oh.
Do you know what his name is, Sam?
Yeah, Michael Glatz.
Oh, okay.
And his company's 901 Innovations. And he used to be the head of events for Pfizer.
Oh, really?
And he was a closet comedian and a big follower of design thinking. And he retired after 28 years and put those two together for that. And it's Yes And. It's the same
Mhm.
thing. Because
Yeah.
that's what design thinking is about. You don't just shut people down.
At its core.
Look at that.
And
Look at that.
Improv is the same, yeah.
Put your phone down. Sir, we're trying to take off.
I'm full.
It's pretty
A
full.
lot of
Yeah.
people.
Very nice.
All right, that's all I got. Have a good weekend,
All right.
guys.
You
Over and out.
Have
Safe
fun in
travels.
Savannah.
Don't lick any water fountains.
That's a lot of people on that plane.
And if you've got
Yeah,
a
but
window
us.
aisle, you're still not 6 feet apart from anybody.
Nope. And no one has said that they are going to block the middle seats.
Hmm.
You know, they said it at the beginning, and then every airline I've gone back to and looked at, none of them have gone in and blocked the middle seats as a, just as a precaution. They were saying today they think that over the next couple of weeks, Delta is going to lay off 8,000 to 9,000 pilots. American's going to lay off more than that. I haven't heard from United, but they're now going back to start to try to petition the government. And here's where the fun starts, right? Because they got $50 billion, but they have to fly. Now they're going to keep the $50 billion and they're going to go back and lobby that they can stop flying. And so, you know, it's back to the 08 bailout again. You know, but it'll be interesting to see if they get to cut all the people, you know, I don't know if you guys have noticed, they've retired all the old big planes, the 57s, the 77s, the DC-9s, all the 380s, all have now been retired. And, you know, there's a massive bloodletting going on. And that, by the way, that's nothing wrong with that. That's probably smart, of equipment and personnel in the airlines right now.
Well, the other note too is they're pulling a couple planes out just because they're not filling them, and they don't have enough. Their normal passenger planes used to always or also carry cargo,
Right.
and now that they've cut down those routes, there's less cargo lift, and so that's killing everyone on cargo. That's why like our stuff out of China is so crazy expensive to get lifted here, because there's just not much lift anymore.
Right. The one thing that's going to be interesting is, you know, for years, Southwest was the most profitable airline because they went and bought 12 years of fuel futures.
Gas, yeah.
Right. And so they were at times 70% lower than everybody else on fuel. And so, you know, I wonder, you know, if the airlines have got the wherewithal to go out and do some, you know, arbitraging on fuel right now.
Yeah. If someone had somewhere to store it, they could make a bundle.
Well, you can actually create the contracts and not have to have the fuel.
Right. Yeah. But if you could even store it, then you'd really be.
Oh, then you'd be locked and loaded.
Yeah, I filled up my lawnmower all the way up the other day, man. I'm ready.
Good move.
All right. Well, guys, let's wrap this thing up. We'll have a good weekend, and we'll catch up next Monday. It was interesting today. I did a nano test on my lunch table where I have lunch every day with Governor Cuomo. And I was surprised to find out that I had over 480 pieces of bacteria per square inch where I eat lunch.
Where you think it's clean.
So after reswiping, we found out after cleaning we could get it down to 40.
That's pretty good.
Wow.
So the research continues.
Fair enough. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Have a good weekend, guys. We'll catch up on Monday.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Over and out.